what is your definition, or what does the word paranormal mean to you?
Well, actually, it used to mean something, but the meaning has lessened to me as I begin to live the reality that the only reason something seems paranormal is because a person's definition of normal is too limited. The conscious mind focuses us into this physical reality. It does a very good job of that. But there is so much beyond this physical reality. There are emotional and spiritual realities. And when we recognize that and start to expand our focus, then we realize that the paranormal isn't so para after all. It's actually just an expanded reality.
Okay, so can anyone provide proof for the validity of the paranormal?
I don't really think that you can provide the kind of proof that the left brain will accept as proof. And here's the difference. Your left brain will want facts, dates, names. I mean, that's what you always demand of psychics and mediums is, give me facts, give me dates, give me names. And a lot of them can do that, but the problem is that you can make a prediction, but you are tapping into the energy of intent when you make this prediction about something. And if intent changes, then the outcome in the physical world may or may not match the prediction. So as far as I'm concerned, prediction is pointless in an open-ended universe based on free will. People will change their intent, and the events will change as a result. Plus, there's a kind of, let's put it this way, the proof that was most convincing is not that mental-oriented proof. It's really the emotional and spiritual experience that says, aha, this is now my reality. I can believe what I feel and what I've experienced, as opposed to what I've studied and observed.
All right, so would you say that there are no limitations to paranormal research then?
Well, I would say that the paranormal research done with the mental body is going to be limited to things that the mental body can see, feel, touch, measure. I mean, that's why there's all those machines to track ghost energy and that kind of thing. That's the kind of limitations that's left on that kind of research. But if you go within to your own energy field, to your own emotions and soul memories, then you are virtually unlimited, because you are a soul that has lived for eons, that will live for eons, and you have many memories.
Now, is there a link between the paranormal and the spiritual, or are they basically one and the same?
Well, I think that when you go to the paranormal and start experiencing it, you realize very quickly that they really are, it's all tied up with creativity and the paranormal. It's all a part of that eternal part of your being, the spiritual part, if you will. And they're all basically one and the same. I mean, I couldn't get away from my spiritual self, even when I was just delving into the issue of whether Atlantis existed. It led me to my emotional and spiritual parts of me. It was a very interesting journey. So I think they really are very closely linked.
Tell me then, based on the research that you've done preparing for your book, and obviously you've had an interest in what we're talking about for your entire life, is it possible to communicate with those who have passed?
I believe it is possible to communicate with those who have passed. I also believe it's possible to communicate with those who are not yet born. That's because the physical body does not, it's the end result of consciousness, all right? It's the physical reflection of consciousness. Consciousness does not depend on a physical body to exist. Once the physical body dies, consciousness is in a different state, but it still exists because it's an energy. It can't be destroyed. Before consciousness comes into a physical body, it is also in that state, and it's still aware. So it doesn't really matter whether you're so-called dead or you're not yet born. You still are an aware being. So to communicate with, for those of us in a physical body, we have to use our intuition or our psychic senses or our soul senses, whatever label, our instinct, whatever label you want. That is how we communicate with those who are not in a physical body.
Have you ever communicated with someone who is not in a physical body yourself?
Oh, yes, and I do it frequently. I mean, I have a set of guides who are souls who are not in physical body. They're with me all the time, and I talk to them. I do some automatic writing and bring through material for them. Yes, I've communicated. And one of the methods, see, that involves a real level of trust with your intuitive self, and a lot of people don't have it because we've been taught the intuitive side of our being is, well, flaky and not reliable and not logical. Well, yes, and yes. It's not meant to be logical. It is a different part of our being. We have the logical part to do logical things, to build, to measure, to build a bridge. That's a logical thing. But we also have that intuitive, non-logical part of ourselves to connect with our own hearts and spirits, to connect with others' hearts and spirits, and to connect with those who are no longer in body. I mean, that's how the native tribes and so-called primitive civilizations communicated with their elders. They used their intuition.
So why do we keep coming back? Like, isn't once enough?
Well, for a lot of people, they say, yes, once is more than enough for me. But we keep coming back because we're curious, because we want to know what it's like to be someone different. We keep coming back because we have unfinished business, and in a physical body we have 4 more senses, and we have physical reality that provides a much deeper texture to our existence. Being physical is fun in many areas. So we come back, and we want to be with people in physical bodies. We remember how it's like. We can always choose not to come back to the physical, although people don't know that. But we come back for very specific things. And sometimes, however, we come back because we just simply make a mistake.
All right, I hate to do this. You and I have got to take a commercial break. We'll be back on the other side of the news. Exo Nation, our special guest of this hour is Candace Talmadge, and her website is www.greenstoneofhealing.com. We'll be back after the news as we continue right here in the X Zone from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Are you considering calling a psychic to read your situation? Then consider David Champion, a psychic medium for more than 20 years with thousands of readings under his belt. David Champion will make you feel comfortable. He has proven to be honest and accurate. He's a straight shooter. There's no guesswork. What he sees is what you get. While he is a medium, most of the calls focus on relationships, not only love, but work, school, neighbors, and more. Need help with finding a job and preparing for the interview? Are you dealing with people who are obstacles in your path? For more information, go to davidchampion.com, $1.50 per minute paid by credit card with a minimum of 30 minutes. For your reading with David Champion, call 1-877-702-8598. That's 1-877-702-8598. Now you can dial in to listen to the X Zone radio show from anywhere in the world with Rob McConnell 24/7, 365 by dialing 213-401-0080. That's 213-401-0080. If you have a mobile phone or landline, the X Zone radio show with Rob McConnell is now at your beck and call at 213-401-0080. That's 213-401-0080, 24/7, 365.
I swear by the moon and the stars in the skies, and I swear like the shadow that's by your side. I see the questions in your eyes. I know what's weighing on your mind. You can be sure I know my part. stand beside you through the years. You'll only cry those.
Welcome back, everyone. Candace Talmadge is our special guest. Her website is www.greenstoneofhealing.com. We're talking about the paranormal. We're talking about all aspects of it. We started talking about Atlantis. But I'd just like to go there. What to you, Candace, makes you really believe that Atlantis was more than fable? And if it was more than fable, what happened to the Atlanteans?
What makes me believe it's more than fable is my own recalled soul memories and the work I've done resolving some of the issues I had in past lives in a civilization that was quote-unquote Atlantis. I personally believe that there were many lost civilizations. So to me, it's an emotional and spiritual truth that civilizations existed that we don't know much about now except through myth and fable. And I believe that I can't speak for what destroyed all of those civilizations or why that we don't have more evidence of them, but in the civilization that I was involved with, it was very advanced. The problem is that they divorced themselves from their minds and from their hearts and their spirits, and were very much into power and control, and that led them to just do things that brought about the destruction of their country. Their desire for power destroyed them. And my fiction series just chronicles the whole struggle for the heart and spirit to blossom and be acknowledged and valued in this civilization, and what happens when that doesn't happen. When they're into the material, when they're into domination, and how destructive and corrosive that can be. There are lots of parallels to the United States today, unfortunately, in the struggle between those who would like to live in peace and harmony with their neighbors and those who want to beat up on them simply because they have the power.
Where do you think the Atlanteans came from? There are so many people who are into the paranormal that believe the Atlanteans were basically extraterrestrials who settled on this planet.
I believe actually that there were extraterrestrials, I call them the Mistweavers in my series, who brought who mingled among the original inhabitants of my Atlantis, known as Asgard, the Turanian people. They were the original flower children. They were gentle, loving, just sort of live and let live type people. Really the prototypical flower child. But the people who conquered them and renamed the island Asgard, I call them the Toltecs, and they came from another place, and that's not too clear yet for me where they came from. But I know I'll get to that because that's part of the story.
So where did all the Atlanteans end up then? We've heard the legends, we've heard the stories that they went to all four corners of the world. But is there any evidence to substantiate that belief?
Well, I don't know what evidence. The physical evidence, I'm not sure we'd know it if we saw it.
How about historical evidence?
Historical evidence, I can't really cite any. I think the evidence for me is just my own emotional and spiritual knowing and understanding. I couldn't prove that to anyone. And to me, when you've got that emotional and spiritual understanding and you're sure about it for yourself, the desire to prove it to other people isn't nearly so strong.
The story of Atlantis, as told by Plato, is certainly one of the most. It's not only adventurous but romantic. It has everything in it. Like so many people out there, I would love to be able to say I believe that it was real. But based on the fact that there never seems to be that hard piece of evidence that somebody can bring up from the Mediterranean or the Atlantic off the